Hello everyone, this is Crustalmania and welcome back to this week's Week 10 selling results video. My apologies in advance for the lower volume in my voice. My other family members in my house are asleep right now and I'm recording this video later at night, so my apologies for the softer tone in my voice. But basically this week was a pretty good week for sales, as you'll be seeing loot footage throughout this video. The first card I sold this week was the Zacian V Full Art from Crown Zenith. This is a near mint card, and this card I wasn't sure was going to sell, and it was the first card towards the end of the prior week to sell, and this card sold for about $9.50, and with shipping and fees I got about $7.59 earnings from this card. The TCG price is right around $9.50, so I got relatively close to TCG pricing, but this was a really nice card and just the art style is really nice, and it was really nice to make a sale on this card for this week of sale because I actually have another card that sold, and that was the only one I thought was gonna sell this week 10. So very surprising with how many cards sold this week and which cards actually sold. So the next card that actually sold was the one that I thought was gonna sell, was the Sceptile GX card. Now this is a lightly played card, and this card was from a repeat buyer. And I'm really thankful to that repeat buyer because he's my very first repeat buyer I've ever had on eBay, and that was a really cool experience to have. So unfortunately, when this buyer bid on the Sceptile, he bought the Tapu Koko, and that listing was ending on that day. But for this Sceptile, the listing had just ended earlier before he bid on the Tapu Koko, and then the bidding went on for another week, so he had to wait a week with his bid on this card, and luckily he won the bid for this card, but he did have to wait about a week just to kind of purchase this card. But again, the payment was really fast on eBay. I marked it as lightly played. You probably could have gone away with kind of near mint, but there were some whitening around the edges, but I wanted to be pretty safe, so I marked this card as lightly played. And this card basically sold for about $175, and after shipping and fees I got $107 out of it. So really nice card. This is a card I actually liked in the beginning when I first got it from the lot that I purchased it from, but I figured, someone else might enjoy this card a little bit more than me. So I decided to sell this card, and I'm glad because it was to a repeat buyer, so it's going to my very first repeat buyer, which is a really awesome experience overall. So the next cards that sold are actually the longest cards I think I've had selling. So they are the Sphinx trio from YuGiOh. So it's basically Thenian, the Great Sphinx, Andro Sphinx, and Sphinxtelia. So Sphinxtelia I think was the only card in lightly played condition, and Thenian and Andro Sphinx were in moderately played condition. And it was really interesting because with these cards I had them listed for pretty much $1 because I didn't really want these cards anymore, and I just didn't expect that they're going to sell because I've had these cards on TCG Player when I very first started selling, and then I moved them to eBay, and for a long time on eBay they just kind of relisted over time, like no one found them. And then all of a sudden this week, like I don't know what happened, like I guess a couple people found my listing and they actually bid for these cards, and these cards, to be quite honest, are not in near mint condition. Like these two buyers actually had like a small bidding war for these cards, and the cards actually sold for $4.25 for the 3 cards, which I guess is a steal in a sense, but realistically if you were to look at these cards on TCG Player near mint, they're not really expensive, so I was very surprised that these cards sold for as much as they did. After shipping and fees, so the original was $4.25. After shipping and fees, it was $3.26, which came about down to about $1-ish, or a little over $1 a card, which I was really impressed by. I just kind of wanted to move these cards because I never was a huge fan of the original designs of these cards. I mean, I played with them as a kid as to why they're lightly played and moderately played, but I never really enjoyed the designs of these cards, so I was just pretty happy to kind of move from them. I just did not expect the small mini bidding war that was happening for these cards. So anyways, that is the listing for these 3 Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I'm really glad that the buyer purchased them and they are going to a good place, and they should probably be appreciated a little bit more than I probably appreciated these cards. So anyways, the last 2 sales are interesting. So these 2 cards are from the Crown Zenith set. So the first one that sold was the Lunetone full art, and this card is probably one of my favorite full arts from Crown Zenith. So basically, I bought one listing. It had 2 Lunetones, and then I kept one of the Lunetones just for my personal collection because I like the art style, and then I decided to sell this one just because I didn't need 2 Lunetones. And it's interesting because towards the end of the day, when this listing was about to expire, I did not expect anyone to purchase it because this card had relisted at least twice on eBay, and I have my listings going on for quite a bit of time. Sometimes, like majority of times, I have them going on for like 10-day listings. Sometimes they automatically change to 7-day without me noticing. So I was really surprised that someone bid on this, because I remember thinking like, oh, like I don't need to worry about this card, it'll relist. Like literally I checked half an hour to 20 minutes before it was going to end. I was like, oh, no one's bid on it, okay, that's cool. I went to go do something for 20 minutes, and then I came back and the Lunetone card sold, and the next card I'm going to show also sold, and it's from the same buyer. And this is a buyer I've not dealt with in the past, but this buyer was really a great buyer overall, and he, I guess, is looking for the 2 Crown Zenith cards, because with this Lunetone, as you see, is in pretty much near mint condition. He bought this card, and the Lunetone went for, I was selling it for $1.75, and I'll do the breakdown a little bit later, because the second card that sold was the Kriketune full art from Crown Zenith, and it ended up being a combined shipping for both of these 2. So this Kriketune is also a very nice full art Crown Zenith card, and it's one of the nicer arts actually that I've seen from Crown Zenith. And I didn't know much about Kriketune, but like I will say the art for this card is really nice. And this buyer, I guess, was looking for Crown Zenith because he bought the Lunetone and the Kriketune at the same time, and both these cards had been relisted twice on my eBay page, so I figured they weren't going to sell. And all of a sudden I get a, oh, you got 2 sales. I was like, what do you mean I got 2 sales? And I wasn't sure who it was to, and it was to the same buyer, so I ended up doing a combined shipping for both of them. And this buyer was really nice. I told him like when I was shipping the cards, and he messaged me on eBay saying he appreciated all the work that I was doing, and he would be looking for other cards that I would sell in the future on my eBay page. And so basically I created a good kind of business relationship with him in terms of just buyer-seller relationship. And basically these 2 cards sold for a total of $4.25. I think Kriketune, I had it for $1.25, and both of them sold for a combined $4.25. After shipping and fees, it came down to about $3.26. Now, both of these cards in CCG Player jumped up in price. Kriketune went up to $1.18, I think, market price, and Lunetone was about at $1.75. So in the actual return, I didn't really make too much off these cards, like I made a little bit less than the actual return if you divide the 326 by 2, but I was just surprised that both cards actually jumped up in price. I thought the Lunetone was higher, like a lot higher than TCG price, same with the Kriketune, but they were actually pretty close to market value, so really surprised there. And overall, just a great week of selling. I made 5 sales this week, and one of them was to my very first repeat buyer. One of them was a listing that I had forever, the Sphinxes that you've seen since like the pre-selling video I did on my very first video on this channel. I showed the Sphinxes, and a new buyer that bought 2 cards right off the bat doing combined shipping. So overall, really great week of selling, and I'm not sure how the other weeks will go, but the way that I do it, there might be not much of a staggering, just because I list a lot of cards or just listings on eBay all at once, just to kind of time it out correctly. So sometimes there is a variation if it doesn't sell and gets relisted. So overall, I hope you like this video. This is quite a long selling video, but I did have a lot of information for this week. And I believe for next week, there is one card that's going to sell. We'll see when it comes to next week's selling video, but I'll give you guys an update then. So hope you guys are liking these videos. If you've made it this far, write down below in the comments if you're liking these types of selling videos. These are the most current videos that I do to date, so I just would love some feedback on these videos. So anyways, I hope to see you guys in the next week's selling video. Have a good one, everyone. Peace.